Alright guys, what's up? New deck profile today. We have Phantasm Spirals back again, but this time with the all-new Heavenly Dragon Circle, which is a new Tenyi support card. It's not even a Phantasm Spiral support card, but it very much fits in the deck. I would even make the argument it's actually better in this deck than it is in Tenyi's. This card basically lets you tribute a worm. Remember, your token is a worm, and it does tribute, doesn't send to grave, so you can use it with the token. So basically you tribute your any worm, and you can either add a worm from your deck to your hand, or if you tribute a non-effect, which your token is, you can special summon that worm. So it's basically like an absolutely free way to special summon the Phantasm Spiral Dragon, free of charge. And its effects are negated, but like, who cares? All our monsters have no effects anyway. So basically it gives you a lot of ability to kill your opponent very easily, because you can basically just, you can use this in battle phase since it's a quick play, but that's one effect of it. The other effect of this card is during your opponent's, during not the same turn, you can banish this card from the graveyard, and then you can search any Tenyi card basically for free. So one effect, like I said, special summon a monster by tributing. The second effect is to search a Tenyi card, and if you recall, if you've ever played Tenyis, they have the Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyis, which is a counter trap. As long as you can affect and control a non-effect monster, you can negate things, which again, your token and all of the monsters you play are non-effect monsters. So it has unbelievable synergy in the deck. But let's get started. First of all, we play one copy of Phantasm Spiral Dragon. It makes its great return. I've not played Phantasm Spiral Dragon in the Phantasm Spiral build in probably like 2 or 3 years. I think I may have stretched it a little bit, probably like 2 years. But I've not played this card in the deck in a while, just because it was always not that great and it was very difficult to summon. With this new card, it is extremely easy to summon. Next, we play 3 copies of Mystery Shell Dragon. I'm missing one. But Mystery Shell Dragon is basically just a 2000 attack monster that is also a worm. It's searchable in the deck, and it gets that field spell going and flowing. Next, we play 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. This card basically allows you to negate anything in terms of searching, and previously we weren't able to play hand traps because unfortunately we used to play Card of Demise. We couldn't use hand traps, but now that we don't play the Card of Demise, we can use the Ash Blossom and Joy Spring and other hand traps. You can replace this with any hand trap you want, but Ash just hits the most cards available out there. Next, the spells. We play 3 copies of Phantasm Spiral City, which is Pacifist, the Pacifist City. One of the best field spells ever printed. You can summon tokens not once per turn. Anytime your opponent activates any card, you can summon a token. You can control 1 token at one time. On top of that, this always counts as Umi, which does come up in importance with other cards that we're playing. And basically, this always counts as Umi. You can summon a token every time your opponent activates something, and then on top of that, when you normal summon a non-effect monster, normal or special non-effect monster, you can basically search for any Phantasm Spiral card that is once per turn. And when you special summon that token, all tokens count as normal monsters, so you can basically, the first effect makes the second effect happen. Every time, this card is basically a +2 every single turn, as long as your opponent activates something. And, you know, we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not like we're not playing, I don't know what you're playing if your opponent's not activating stuff, but they will activate stuff and you will get free stuff. Next, we play 1 copy of Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi. This card basically allows you to, it's one of the cards you can get for free off of the new Tenyi Heavenly Dragon Cycle. Basically, it's a free card you can get off that, or off Terraforming, or off Metaverse, or any of those cards. Basically, it's the Tenyi field spell. If you control non-effect, well, basically all non-effect monsters you control are unaffected by card effects. On top of that, the second effect is that anytime your opponent special summons an effect monster, you draw 2 cards, and that is a soft once per turn. If we had more metaverses, we could actually, since it's a soft once per turn, if we had multiple metaverses, we could probably get it off multiple times, but we only have 1. But that card is still very, very good to have. It's another field spell in case you run out of the Pacifist, or you just want to draw and sit on your floodgates. Next, we play 1 copy of Mystic Mind. This is the best field spell in the game, and we have We have Metaverse and we're playing set rotation, and we can kind of spit it out against a lot of decks like Adamanticators. If they normal summon one monster, you flip Metaverse and then you get out Mystic Mine, you basically have finished them off. They don't have an out to this. There's no main deck out in a lot of decks like Adamanticators, like Numerons, like stuff. There's a lot of decks like that that just do not have a main deck out to Mystic Mine. They have absolutely nothing that they can do against it. If you put it out against them, they just sort of lose, they scoop, and you get a free game one, basically. Then we play one copy of Terraforming, searches any field spell. One copy of Set Rotation, gives you 2 field spells instead of 1. And 3 copies of Heavenly Dragon Cycle. This is the all-new, like I said, the all-new support card. Very good in this deck. Better in this deck than it is probably in pure Tenyis. We brought back again 1 copy of Phantasm Spiral Grip. We're relying far more on the Phantasm Spiral Dragon. And a lot of boss monsters are exactly 3,000 attack. And some boss monsters will be 3,000 attack unaffected by a bunch of different things. And you need to... The problem with relying on stuff like Sea Stealth is if they're unaffected by things, you actually won't be able to defeat them. So you need the 500 attack boost occasionally. But on top of the 500 attack boost, this does get you a Phantasm Spiral Dragon out of the graveyard or out of the deck. So sometimes it actually does come in handy. Then we play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. This is the all-new field draw spell that we use instead of the Card of Demise. It's definitely better than Card of Demise. It's objectively better. You don't use an extra deck at all. Like, you don't care what gets banished. It literally does not matter. You don't use Super Poly because Super Poly hurts your deck. You absolutely just do not use an extra deck. There's no reason to use an extra deck with this deck. Next, for the traps, we play 3 copies of Waterfall of the Dragon Souls. This card is also very, very good. Basically, on activation, this is a slow deck, so it doesn't matter if it takes multiple turns to set up. On activation, you add a worm. You get to use one of 2 effects. You can either A, add a worm, or you can send any number of worms to the graveyard to draw cards +1. Now, just be very careful. That second effect, to send worms to grave, you can't use the token. You cannot send the token, because if you can't send a token to the graveyard, it has no destination outside of the field. So you can't send the token to the graveyard. Or you can send them that guy, Mystery Shell Dragon, and the Phantasm Spiral Dragon to the graveyard. You can actually do cool things where you loop the Phantasm Spiral Dragon, because you can like attack with it, and then you can use the Waterfall of the Dragon Souls, send it to grave, draw 2 cards, and then you can use the equip spell to attack, and then get that same one back from the graveyard. But both effects are very useful. Most of the time you'll be searching though. Next, you use 3 copies of Phantasm Spiral Battle. This card basically is one of the cards you search off the field spell. It pops cards. You can activate it from your hand if you control Umi, and no effect monsters. This is Phantasm Spiral Power. It is the exact same thing that I said with the other one, except it is basically impermanence, and it makes your opponent's monster lose 1,000 attack. Play 1 copy of Metaverse. This is one of the best, absolutely one of the best cards to draw in the deck. Play 3 copies of the next card, Sea Stealth Attack. Again, another very important card. Basically, this card has multiple effects. You can banish a water monster that's face up on the field until the end phase, and then your spell and trap cards are protected. Your face up spell and trap cards are protected, basically, from destruction. On top of that, this little beat decks like True Dracos, or any cards that can pop back row. But basically, you can banish a card, and then banish your water monster. Your opponent can't destroy spell and trap cards. And then its other effect is a continuous effect, which is that if a level 5 or higher water monster battles, your opponent's monster is automatically destroyed. And our Phantasm Spiral Dragon, and more importantly our token, are both level 8. So basically they're very difficult to get rid of under this card. Play 1 copy of Macrocosmos. It's a floodgate that absolutely beats everyone, and it barely hurts you. Like, it hurts you a little bit because Sea Stealth can get back an Umi, which is basically our Phantasm Spiral, or it can, that new card, this Heavenly Dragon Cycle, it can hurt a little bit, but I assure you it'll hurt your opponent far more than it'll hurt you. And even more so, you can actually just wait to activate your cards. Like you don't have to search the Tenyi cards with that secondary effect. The first effect is good enough. Macrocosmos on its own will beat most decks. 1 copy of Skill Drain. because again, doesn't hurt your deck. You're playing all normal or non-effect monsters. Literally does not hurt your deck. 2 copies of Rivalry might bump that up to 3. It is very good in the meta because a lot of decks go through Crystal Needle Fiber. So they'll go, like, let's say you're playing against Eldritch, the first thing they'll summon is like a token or a Crystal Needle Fiber. And what you do, like, let's say they summon Link Cross tokens, and you activate Rivalry, they're just locked into that. They cannot do anything else. Now they have 2 tokens that they can't do anything with. They can't summon any of their zombies. They have to wait till you get rid of their monsters, and then they can actually play. So we play Rivalry of the Warlords, then we play 3 copies of Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi, which is a searchable counter trap. All you have to do is control a non-effect monster, which is the token, the Megalo Smashers, and the Spirals. And the dragon that I showed, the Mystery Shell Dragon. All of them are all valid cards to have on the field, and this basically negates spell traps or monsters. On top of that, if this card gets destroyed, you can basically for free special summon a non-effect monster from your extra deck, which is either Blue Eyes Ultimate or Humanoid Worm Drake. This card you summon, even though it's weaker than Blue Eyes Ultimate, because this card is actually a level 7 or high, level 5 or higher water monster, so it'll be protected under Sea Stealth, and they can't get rid of it. And then to round it up, we play 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This card basically allows you to negate a monster on the field. It's very useful, and of course you can activate it during your turn. But that is everything. Extra deck is, like I said, just 3 copies of this, 3 copies of Blue Eyes Ultimate, and literally just a bunch of random crap, because you will never, ever, ever, ever go into your extra deck. You can play 100 games, you maybe go into your extra deck once to summon like a Nightmare Griffin or something, or a Nightmare Cerberus. But that's about it. Thank you. Have a nice day, guys.